Okay, so the book. This book is being released today on Amazon, being at zero. In there, we feature several of our presenters. Vinny is on there. Carrie Skurdla's in there. Cherie Burton from yesterday's in there. Kathy Truman from Wednesday's in there. Annie's got a segment, a chapter, as well as Joanne. Some of our earlier members of the team, like Colette. A great interview with a woman named Jennifer. And last but certainly not least is Todd Hull. So Todd is going to tell you his side of the story. And I've told him he's got a full, he's got plenty of time to tell it. And then I'm going to come in to see where he ends up and share my side of the story. So, yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Todd. I am Christine's husband. I don't want to say better half or worse half because I'm obviously not a better half. I don't like that word. I am the yin to her yang or vice versa. How about that? Some days I make her crazy and other days I make her even crazier. So we'll just say that much about me. I am also a person, or firstly, I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me today, about 10 days ago, I celebrated 3 years in recovery from pretty much every drug out there. I ended up mostly on meth and bath salt, killing myself. I don't see a lot. After talking to Cristine, it's my understanding, and she asked maybe that I put this in the chat or pose a question to all of you. I know myself that most people know at least one person that are struggling with addiction. A lot of you may know more. A lot of you may be supporting a person in addiction or enabling a person in addiction like my mom did for so many years. I can tell you briefly my story, but if I don't remember to tell everybody this, and Cristine knows this as well, I'm here to help people now to find their way out, because it took me 25 years, 28 years, 30 years.
We do want to invite people to share in the chat how many, just by numbers, you don't have to give names, obviously, but just the number of people in your life who you are worried about because of addiction or mental health issues or something that you haven't figured out or they haven't figured out. And I just think as you put that number in there, at the end, we're going to talk about kind of like the expanded version of what Todd and I are talking about. But those, oh my gosh, we already see there's somebody who has 6 people in their life, and some have at least 7. Okay, so this is you, and you ripple, and what you receive in this as through consciousness can impact the people in your life. And so that's the idea, is that as Todd shares, we know that he's reaching 40 people on the call, but those 40 people know, right?
Yeah, so
7 to 9 plus. There we go.
And what I'll mention and how I finally got sober is an understanding of a quantum physics concept that we're all connected by energy. And I think all of us can relate to that. I don't know how much Christine's talked about that, but I see a lot of people on here who are aware of that and how quantum physics works. Anyway, going back real quickly, because I will try to jump around if you let me, because I was an amphetamine user. Drugs are bad for you. My brain is not all the way healed after 3 years. I consider myself a very smart person. While I was incarcerated, one of 6 times in prison, or during 6 times in prison, I read over 2,500 books. So I consider myself quote unquote educated, but if I was that educated, why would I keep poisoning myself and killing myself in an addiction? And addiction is Cristine talked about mental illness, but it's just a result of mental illness, my mental illness. And that's what it was like for many years. I had a mother. I'm one of 4 children. I had a mother for those 25 years that sat in a rocking chair waiting for the phone call that her son was dead, or in prison, or in jail, or in prison, or in jail. And she got that many times, over 6 times in prison, over 50 times in Salt Lake County jail alone, not to mention 16 other counties in Utah. I just couldn't get it right. I was a lost soul. I was a menace to society. My mom also got the call in that rocking chair. shortly after my first prison intake, that my baby sister, 20-year-old baby sister, had died in a motel in downtown Salt Lake from use of meth, which normally doesn't happen. 3 years after that, and while I'm in prison again on one of my stays, I got the call on the wall, a cold call on the wall to come up to a button, and that's how they talk to you in facilities. And I was told that my 16-year-old daughter had committed suicide while I was in prison. So all these things you can imagine just started piling up for me. I started carrying around a bag of resentments and a bag of pain and guilt and shame. I walked away from my wife and children. I abandoned them for the use of meth to become a meth cook, meth manufacturer, because that's the only way I could afford it. I was one of the first ones in the late 90s in Salt Lake to help destroy that city that I still feel shameful for today. And I work daily to turn that around and live my amends. But that was my life. If I can just say, normally I share with people who have used drugs, and I use a lot of dark humor. And so I have to watch I know all of you love humor, but I have to watch my humor because there's a difference on one. I can't tell my mom some of the jokes I tell my friends because it would break my mom in half. My mom is the most loving, most codependent, enabling woman you will ever meet in your life. She went to prison, to visit me in prison 3 times a week. They made her take her bra off. They were so mean to my mom, and she still did it. We're talking about an old lady. Anyway, moving on. You can kind of tell where I've been. Anybody that does the drugs, does the drinking, messes with the law, the end results are jails, institutions, and deaths. We all know that. And that's the truth. In the past 3 years, I've lost over 20 people that I knew in that field, and that's where fentanyl and the things that are happening today are taking us. Strong drugs are taking us. It got to nothing worked for me. I have an underlying mental illness that just recently came out. Cristine identified it about a year ago. I have a daughter in Canada who just barely a week or two ago talked to me and says, "Yeah, Pops, you have BPD." And I said, "What's that?" I thought it was some kind of disease or something I got from another way, but no, borderline personality. And now I am just barely learning how to deal with this after being sober for 3 years, because for 25 years I stacked drugs and alcohol on top of this, and I was a totally different mental basket case. We won't even talk about everything I looked like as far as diagnosis in, but each time I was incarcerated, they would throw a different pill at me, a different antidepressant. Oh, you're anxious. Oh, you're depressed. Oh, you're manic. Oh, you're bipolar. No, I'm not. I was using methamphetamine. What do you think I'm going to be? Of course, I'm all those things. But I do have the underlying traits of BPD, and they come out. And I've been driving my wife and everyone around me crazy, but I've noticed them. I'm working on them, and I'm bound and determined and vow to get through this. And that's just part of my addiction recovery. After the years of prison, after all the years of addiction, we won't talk about all the dark things and loss. In 2017, it got so bad, and I made choices so poor and so dark, and the people I was hanging around with, that I ended up in a vehicle when one of my best friends got out and shot and killed someone in front of me. And I was charged originally for that. And not only was the trauma from that just did it destroy me, but the loss of life in the wake of my choices, including 3 innocent girls, including my sister and my daughter and this girl who was accidentally killed by my friend. So obviously I wasn't so guilty. I was guilty because I was in the car. I didn't know he was going to do that, but you would think that would be the last time I'd ever use, but I actually did relapse after that, wanting to die. But that was really the eye-opener for me. It was life-changing, obviously. I stayed in jail 2 years while they figured that case out and charged him accordingly, because at first I had what was called a convict code, where I wasn't going to tell on him. And so they said, "Fine, well, you sit in jail till we figure it out." When, the telling, it's just a whole another dynamic of convict mentality and language that some of you may know about, but it's who I was then, and I should have done differently. So after 2 years, they found him guilty, and they still charged me with obstruction of justice by being with him. Long story short, I went to a treatment center Odyssey House for a year after that. I cried and went in there, and this would be the second time I'd gone to Odyssey House. I stayed there a year and I did really well, but I didn't get enough in it. After a year, and like I said, I did relapse one more time, and it was in. And I don't know why. I didn't want to be on the streets. I didn't want to be alive. The pain of the people I felt like I had been responsible for that had died just was consuming me. The abandoning my children and my wife, all the choices I made. I just didn't want any part of it anymore. Suicide was the only answer, or death by cop, death by a policeman shooting me. I was just looking for a way out. I finally went to a treatment center in central Utah, Mount Pleasant, Utah, which sadly is not there anymore, but and rest in peace to the lady who created it, my mentor, Janie Marvin, who passed this past year. The way I got sober and what she taught was based on quantum physics and NLP, and also hypnotherapy. And what it is, and what I can tell all of you here today, and this might help a lot of people understand what they're going through. Not only is addiction, any addiction, a program in our mind, but everything that we're going through, most everything that we go through daily that we struggle with, is a program we've created in our mind. Take that how you will. I feel some victim stamps coming from that statement, but it literally is the choices we make create programs that we run on daily, and unchanged or unguided or directed down a new path, we continue to do those. So that's what my addiction was, and this is what I was taught by the holographic human technology that Janie Marvin created. Now you can't erase a program out of your brain, out of your subconscious. It'll never go away. Your brain has made that program for a reason, to keep you alive. However, you can create another program and place it on top of it, and do a different thing daily, and make a new way of life. I should make a new avenue, go down a different road per se. The old programs will always be there, but if you don't entertain them, it's like bad thoughts. If you don't entertain them, usually they'll subside. And for me, this is what happened. She created techniques and NLP type techniques and things like that we would practice every day. And I started doing these things finally after every treatment center I had been to over 25 years, and nothing was working. Cristine can tell you the names of all the treatments I tried and the theories, and because she's got the letters behind her name, and I joke about this jumping around again, and I've got the numbers behind mine, right? We're the yin and yang. I've got the prison numbers and jail numbers, and she's got the letters and the doctorate degrees and all this. So anyway, I did a technique one day called the open system technique, and this was my spiritual awakening that got me sober after nothing in this world, including death, murder, and suicide, could. Called the open system, and I did it, and I went outside and I placed my hand on the tree to ground myself, because I was learning about grounding, and I was learning about higher levels of consciousness and energy healing, quantum healing, and things like that. And when I placed my hand on that tree, it's like my vision went away, but it opened to the vision that my higher power, the universe, God, had in store for me. I won't say I wasn't like seeing God or seeing any extraterrestrial beings, but what I saw was two big flags, one on the left and one on the right, and one was red, and it was trillions of dots of energy, and one on the left was blue, and it was the same. And they were waving just like if they were waving in the wind. And the one on the right, the red one, it showed me first, and it showed it was like replaying all the things that I've done that were bad, the crimes I committed, the things I'd done to obtain drugs, the people I'd offended or hurt. And that would spread to that flag, to that red flag, and it would turn bright red, and it hurt so much to look at it. It would burn my soul to look at it. And I couldn't look at it. I didn't want to look at it anymore. I was like being judged by this, just showing me what my actions to obtain these drugs and live the lifestyle I was doing to people. I wasn't only affecting myself, my mom, my sister, my children. I was affecting millions of people. And after I looked at it, I agree with it. Now that I know what quantum physics is and how we are all connected by energy, I agree with it. Immediately, it chose to show me the blue side. When I made a good choice, when I did something right for a person, when I held the door open for a little old lady, when I served the homeless, when I did these things out of charity, the blue side would light up, and billions and trillions of dots would light up. That was my spiritual awakening, and I kept walking around the block and absorbing it. I have chills on the back of my neck from it, but that was the start of my journey of getting sober. Finally, and I don't want to use, I was using intravenously. Finally, I could keep a needle out of my arm, a pipe out of my mouth. I mean, I was a lost soul. I was a dead man walking. I went home from that treatment center a few months later, and I had a lump on my neck. And now, all of us here know pretty much what methamphetamine is. We've heard about how harmful, hateful, destructive it is to our community. You lose your teeth from this stuff too. I don't know. I'm sure everybody's heard that. So I had a few teeth pulled, and I looked like a jack-o'-lantern. It was what Cristine called me when we first met. I'm surprised she's still with me after that. I got beautiful teeth now. They're implanted because I got a wonderful life. I went home and I had this lump on my neck, and it didn't go away after a couple months. And I thought it was just from the, my lymph nodes acting up from having my teeth pulled. But I went into a hospital in Draper, and they sat me down after biopsying, and they said, Todd, you have mantle cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's in stage 4+. It's throughout every organ in your body, all throughout your bloodstream. You're going to die from it soon. We don't know when, but not today. This is how the doctors proposed this to me, this diagnosis. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know what I've been putting in my body for 25 years. I'm not dying from cancer. That's what I'm not doing. At that time, I was crying inside, talking to my Heavenly Father, who I choose to call my higher power. And I was making deals. And I was like, dude, I just quit everything. I'm done. Please save me. And he saved me. He saved me. I'm still here today. He saved me. I would go through 6 months of chemotherapy by the grace of God at Huntsman Cancer Institute, where there's the most amazing people there. But during that time, and I know we don't have it on night, I'm trying to introduce her to tell everything here. I know you guys have been on this all day, and I'm sure you're all more tired than I am, and I've been at school all day. During that time, I was introduced to Cindy on here too. I see Cindy Tamara both know about EES, an energy enhancement system. It's scalar energy. I was introduced to this by my mentor, Janie, who had opened centers and who set up these machines. And what it is machines that push scalar energy through you, for lack of a better term, that you would to go through your body to quantum, 5th dimension, 4th dimension level treatment. Anyway, I was sitting in this energy enhancement system because I had opened a center for Janie in Salt Lake, the first one there. And because I couldn't work anywhere else, I was going through this chemo. The chemo was killing me. I wanted to die. I can't explain chemo to you unless you've been through it. It's worse than anything in this world, but yet it's saving your life, if that makes any sense at all. Supposedly saving your life. Yes, it did save mine. After 3 years, I'm still coming back from the effects of it. But what they found out was this EES stuff. I would go back into Huntsman and they'd say, how are your numbers so good? How are your white blood count coming back so fast? How are your red blood counts so high already? How is this, how is that? And I'm like, I tried to tell them, they didn't believe me. They're not trying to hear a solution like we discuss here and like what Cristine discusses. So I just went with it. And I kept getting better. And last week I went in for my 3-year PET scan, CT scan, and they're like, dude, your numbers are amazing. What's going on? So I'm grateful to God. That's how that worked out. And everyone in that journey. Wouldn't be the end of it. 3 or 4 months later, as I'm enjoying my new beginning in remission, I was living in a sober living home down in Draper, Utah, right by the Harmons there on 114 South. And I was lonely and I needed to go to the grocery store. This is before I met my wife, right before. And I'm walking through Harmons looking for all the pretty women that go to Harmons because it's an upscale, uppity grocery store. It wasn't like Walmart. So this was my thinking, brand new in recovery, you guys. So I'm looking to flirt with girls, ladies in there shopping, and I fell to the floor holding my heart on my knee. I fell down on my knee and I'm holding my heart. And the first thing that came to my mind was, thank goodness I'm not in the Walmart going to die. That was just a few blocks down the road across the highway. And I'm not going to die in Walmart, and tweakers aren't going to get my wallet or any of these weird things going through my head. That was my first thought. I don't want to die in Walmart. A few days later, I was in the hospital with open heart surgery on what's called Widowmaker surgery. I had an aorta that was exploding, that was bursting, an aneurysm in my aorta. They called it the Widowmaker, and left unchecked would have killed me. So I went through open heart surgery, another part of my journey, another blessing. Now, by this time, if I didn't know drugs were bad for me, I do know drugs are bad for me now. They're definitely very bad for you. Don't do drugs, everybody. Go back to Nancy Reagan's time and we don't do drugs. Yeah, I should have listened. I'm going through the recovery once again of the open heart surgery, and I had a home health care nurse coming over and a physical therapist coming over, and they run me through the gamut of all this stuff. And within 10 days, I was literally back up and walking upstairs and doing things. And they're like, this is not possible, Todd. It usually takes people a month to do this. What are you doing? What happened? And I said, well, you don't know about scalar energy or what it's done for my body or what it's done to help me heal. Because it doesn't make sense that a guy who's ruined his body like I had, how fast I could be bouncing back from these things, the cancer, the open heart surgery. But I was still left one box unchecked, and I was lonely. I was still going through it, and I was still laid up in bed. Don't get me wrong. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to get through this, but they said I was getting up and doing things a month faster than everybody. So I was on my phone, and I won't go complete into the details of the sites I got on. They weren't horrible sites, but they were not good sites to find women on. I didn't know it was out there because that's not the way I knew how to find women. Hadn't done this a lot, and I got threatened on some sites or held that they're going to hold me ransom for maybe or may not. I put some pictures on there. Anyway, doing all the wrong things, you guys. So I wasn't a spiritual person doing the right things. Yeah, I was sober and I was learning how to be that person. Long story short, and when I'm about ready to give up on dating, I posted a long-winded profile, a long-winded, honest profile about myself on a site called Silver Singles. Now, Silver Singles is 50 and older, you guys. I had turned 50 that very couple months before that. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I can find a smarter woman, pretty woman that's over 50, that's got her head on straight and can help me get mine on straight or help me keep mine on straight. Lo and behold, there was a pretty blonde gal in Logan, Utah, posting her profile onto a site called Educated Singles at the same time. Now, what is the irony in that? They're going to hook up me with someone posting on the Educated Singles. They actually work in tandem. It's all a money market scam with dating sites, but the scam helped us, and that's how I met my wife. The rest will be in the book. I think Cristine wants to tell you because there's a lot to that. However, today, that's how we met, and so we just celebrated 2 years on the 11th of November of our wedding anniversary, as I celebrated on the same day 3 years of completely sober from any mind-altering substance and alcohol in my body. And that's a big deal for me. That journey, and I don't know if I've told everything that Cristine would like me to, but that journey and the journey since meeting Cristine, I have done all these things that Cristine's teaching all you and sharing it with you. I've done the tapping she teaches, her training. I've done the Quantum Wholeness Meditation. I'm a firm believer in meditation. I meditate with Joe Dispenza, who was a big guy. It was a guy who was part of the big movement in quantum physics and what the belief that she talked about. We went to his retreat over the summer. I like high dopamine, high energy, high stuff like that because I was naturally an amphetamine addict, and I've just got that way I think and enjoy, and it's hard to get that energy and excitement now after I've depleted all that from the drug use. And so the meditating works for me. I will say that Cristine's tapping, I enjoy Ho'oponopono, believe totally in Ho'oponopono. The tapping works as well. The thing about tapping, though, if you're a guy like me and you think you're big and bad and tough and you've been in prison, it's probably not something your ego is going to let you do, sit and tap in front of people, especially a lot of people. So I've been working on my ego as well. And the more I push my ego aside and let that go, the better my life becomes. The more I entertain Cristine's ideas and all these things that she's teaching me, the better my life becomes. I do all sorts of different things daily, including Buddhism, including I'm back a member of our church, holding a priesthood standing in the church I'm in. And that's not for everybody, but that for me, these are all the things that I do, and they'll all look different for all you guys. But one thing I do know is that everybody out there that I'm looking at, everybody is struggling with something. right? It's probably not going to be a meth addiction. Might not be meth and bath salt. You might have struggles with the children, right? A children with special needs child, a husband, a spouse, a boyfriend. Everybody, and we meet in life is struggling with something. And all I know is that those are programs, and we can change them by changing what we're doing. I always thought I'd just be stuck in a prison and die in a prison, and my mom would never know the story. I might even cry saying this. My mom wants me to write a book. We're working on it. But I would never be able to write that book for my mom. But even not writing that book, my mom today sees me sober, and my mom is happier than she's ever been in her life because of that. She lost my baby sister. She also had the second one up from my baby sister. The day my baby sister died, go through psychosis and almost kill my mom through an assault. She wasn't in her right mind. So my mom's been through a lot, and I'm grateful she's still alive and she can see me in this condition. And I'm grateful for Cristine and all of you, like Tamara and Cindy and Harley and all the people I see on here that I know and that are part of this journey. There's different avenues and different paths for everybody. And for me, the quantum journey and the energy healing and like Cristine's formulas she's talked about, I take those every day. I'll automatically, my hand will reach out to the one my body needs, and I'll take a couple different ones every day. We've also Cristine created an oil that we're working on starting a program to help me quit nicotine. I was using Zen nicotine after I quit smoking, was forced to quit smoking. Yeah, and I just did a final project on it in school, the little technical college I'm at. So all these things are what I do. You can't do one thing. What I do know, just one thing and be healthy. You've got to give equal energy and power, work to your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, all your wells that Cristine talks about. And that's just the way she defines them and the way I understood. And it was a blessing and a miracle for me to meet her and be on this journey. A lot of you will say, well, how did this guy even end up with a woman like Cristine? I can't tell you. I'm just lucky and blessed. But nowadays I say, well, how did she end up with a guy like me? So just so you know.
So my story is the really quick version of why Todd is so important to me is that I was not a stranger to the bad boy. I will say that. That was like my drug. And I just could pick them out. Like I remember in sixth grade, I picked out the two guys that, it wasn't like the one who's most likely to succeed. It was the one that was like most likely to end up in prison. And there was just a chemistry. I let that go in my part of my frequency shifts and my journey. But it was like I let a part of my soul go at the same time. And if you look at the two wolves above Todd's head, this story of the two wolves, typically it is which will you feed? The black wolf represents addiction, so to speak, or low frequencies, right? And the white represents the higher frequencies and light. And I was always told, you go to the light, you shift to that. And it was never complete for me. It was not complete for my journey. And so when I heard there's a different version of this that came out and I listened to it, we might post it so that you can grab it. But the synopsis is that in the Native American tradition, there's actually a different answer. And that is you feed both. And you figure out how that low frequency and how that high frequency are meant to coexist. Literally, the yin and the yang are meant to be coexistent. And so the trick is that I figured out is I had to accept my shadow and not just externalize it in this other person. And once I did that complete work on myself, and then I started to see like I could be almost like when someone goes on the drug that keeps them from getting high from narcotics, right? Or whatever, right? So it's like there was a different essence to that. And so when I met Todd, I was not looking for anything, dark and destructive, but he had been there. And the fact that he had been there and that was familiar to me, and I could actually handle his world, it's like that was the adventure. Because I will tell you how quickly I can get bored with someone who does not have the broad experience of life. And I am never going to get bored around Todd. So there's that. He is my cure for boredom. And and he's also the balance in that yin and yang, and his light and my dark, and his dark and his and my light are perfectly matched. And I can't even tell you how many layers there are of that and how much more there is. Like, we're just at the beginning of the story, and there are many to come. And this is just book one. So, book one is the memoir of the year that Todd and I met. And it's also the zero that I experienced before meeting him, which meant that my former life was kind of like a board that I had erased, and it was like there was space for something new. And I think we all have that opportunity to create space for something new. And that's really the model of a quantum shift. So we are going to do something really amazing for the next 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to introduce you to Quantum Wholeness Meditation. And I'm going to share kind of how we do this. And this is something we do in meditation groups. We have groups weekly, sometimes several groups a week, that we gather, and there's a membership community. And if you're interested, we want to hear from you specifically on that. And so I think it's in this survey. If not, we'll get you a link to just text us that you're interested. And so it is kind of like either you complete the program and this is kind of your follow-up, this is kind of the ongoing membership community, or if you're already kind of there, then we figure out like if this is a good match for you at the time you're in. So, but you all get to experience this. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this list. So there are 6 people in Nelson's life that are a concern. There are 2 in Bonnie's, 7 in Harley's, 9 in Wanda's, 6 in Heidi Stimson's, 2 in Ethelyn's, and over 10 in Emily Alice's. And oh my gosh, Emily, if anyone, you deserve this today, because you have been consistently here like every one of our meetings. So even if you're watching this later, because some of them weren't able to stay the whole time, but those are the people that are actually going to be the receivers of this meditation. So we're going to also send intention to those who are on the call and aware of this, so they can be also receivers, because there are things that if you just have this one piece, it creates a sense of peace in your own life, or it allows you to know like what you're inspired or what is like in the highest good for that person you care about. And so we're going to include you. And so I've just kind of mentioned the 3 layers. So the layer 1 is yourself. That's where we start. That's the center that is always with you. You are always with you. And your own consciousness, like we've talked about today, is the starting point. The second layer is expanding that consciousness, that quantum potential, to those who are surrounded. We're a group right here is 29 people that are all potential receivers of this. And the names I just mentioned, and they're in the chat if you want to just kind of tune into them. Then the third layer are those people that they have just brought intention to by saying, I care about these 10 people in my life, these 2 people in my life, these 6 people in my life. Okay, so that's layer 3. You're with me? Okay. So I know that Harley and several others on here are familiar with Quantum Wholeness Meditation. Just the quick version, or the observer version, is to be in silence and in stillness with your posture awake, your feet on the floor, your spine aligned, and you bring a connection to like an anchor, and you can put your hand on your heart if you wish. Whatever anchor you wish to do is fine. We have a specific format in Quantum Wholeness Meditation, but just whatever for you is familiar. And then with intention, you don't sit and dwell on it or linger in it. You just allow it to be present and you stay in your body. That's the key. So I'll prompt a little bit, but we're just going to do 2 minutes per layer, which will give us time. And take a deep breath and exhale. Feel your feet on the ground, your seat in the chair. Lift up your torso a little and stay present as you find your own consciousness. Obviously, if you're driving or unable to close your eyes, just set the intention and do what's safe and purposeful for now. If you're able to close your eyes, you might reflect on your inner being. Anything that is out of harmony, let it go with an exhale. Inhale the potential of integration. And again, exhale. All right, we're going to shift to layer 2. And at layer 2, now just notice there are people on this call who are concerned about loved ones. We'll send them intention to be clear on what might be next on their journey, what might provide them with hope or relief, where they may find answers. And now for the next layer are those who've been felt today, who've been brought into our dialogue of concern. Those family members, those close friends of those who are on the call who are suffering. And now I'm going to add a little guidance, because what we know is that these souls who are suffering are likely in need of a miracle. And that miracle is not necessarily found through a simple, a secular solution. There may not have been anything that's worked for some of these people so far, despite their efforts. And it is very possible that it is a spiritual solution that is required. And what we know of consciousness, of God, is that that solution is available. We don't know how, we don't know when, but we can trust. And we can focus on the power of that solution, wherever and whenever it exists, that it is. Let's go ahead and express gratitude to that solution as if it already is. In your heart, just send a thank you. And we'll come back and I do want to say we didn't finish with there was just a little piece from a year ago. And it's interesting, and this is kind of finale moment, that when we meditated Thursday morning, our group, our A Million at One group, we're doing a Quantum Wholeness Meditation. And when I asked what was seen or noticed, Danny mentioned the angels. She said, I don't know, but I see a bunch of angels. And what I realized in that moment is that a million meditators may not be in this dimension. That we invite those angels, and we can invite those angels any moment to be present, to abide with us, to just surround us for protection, for comfort, for insight and awareness. And angels also have different frequencies. They are, some of them are a work in progress, like many of us are. Some of them are completely evolved. And so those angels may also be those on the other side who are still healing or part of a healing journey, like Vinny explained. It's like they're still releasing, they're still evolving. So I will share that a year ago, Todd and I were in a sacred location, and some are maybe familiar with temple open houses. The LDS temple has open houses where people are able to go through and experience this sacred building, slightly different than a church. And the public is welcome to come in before it's dedicated. And then after that, there's a different guideline. But we were able to be in there. And Todd, you want to share that last part?
I just want to end on tears, you guys. I love all of you guys. Yes, I'll share. We were there, and when I was a kid, real quick, once again, there's a primary song, I'm a child of God. Not trying to make this about a religion, but for me, that's what happened. We're walking through a room, and there was a piano playing that song, and my 20-year-old sister enveloped me with her arms. She's on the other side, and so she died in her addiction, and I know she's working on it like I'm working on mine out here. So without giving that tears, because it's going to take me to tears, that was a year ago tomorrow, in fact. I just want to say, if I can quickly say also, to all the numbers there and to all the people who put up numbers, my heart breaks for you. If I can in any way, I work as a sponsor. I volunteer as a sponsor in the AA and NA programs. I work with guys and I spread hope. If I can help any of you, I can't help everyone, but I can spread hope. And I can't go out and beat sobriety into people. I've tried it, it doesn't work. I can spread hope and I can work with people. And if there's anything I can do for any of you, please let Cristine know or whatever I'll do, I'll do it. It's what I do today is spread hope. If that's my only journey left in this life, is to bring as many as I can under my Savior, then I'm good with that. So thanks to everybody.
Yes, the spiritual solution. And it works for all in all realms. All, here, the other, the dark, the light, it's the all. Okay, so that's what we're going to end on. And it's been so amazing. Like, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to ever do a summit with this many hours again. We're going to do more. And so stay connected because expect another one in February along with like another book release. Oh, the portal for the hub is available. So you can hop in there and find all kinds of stuff and stay connected so that, we'd like to talk to you for real. Like I know that there's journeys for each of you. And if you go to the summit portal, you'll see how you can schedule with either Annie or I. And thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being here. Yes, for sure.